Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. Up first, the river breakup map, and about like yesterday, except a lot less ice now each day here on the Yukon and the Tanana Open, and now we're seeing some open, really all the way out to the delta there, with mostly open in between. Even the Porcupine now starting to break up, and really no flooding threats at all coming up, or at least in the future here. And watching now for the two rivers here, and then the North Slope River, Colville, and those two start breaking up. So moving on to satellite imagery from yesterday, had a very slow moving trough here, trying to push through, but easterly flow keeping it lined up right along the coast there, with up to 2/3 of an inch or more of rain falling in some locations, mostly down to the south. And then this area shifting off to the northeast with some showers. Big area of precipitation, showers, rain, even thunderstorms heading eastward here, with an upper level system that was right there near Kuskokwim Bay, tracking just to the south there, or across northern Bristol Bay. And that's what brought the rain across southern Alaska overnight last night and into today. And that's what replaced the mostly clear skies here over the Copper River Basin and the partly sunny skies in the Tanana Valley, with the clouds and showers that we had today as that whole mess moved eastward. And the upper trough now developed that front and pushed it right into the Panhandle today as forecast, with pretty good rainfall going on down to the south here, and actually extending up to the north where it's lighter, and then quite an area of showers and precipitation here, gradually ending from west to east, taking actually a lot longer than I thought it would yesterday here to clear out through Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley, but definitely a back edge here. Lots of sunshine back to the west, clearing skies all the way from the Brooks Range down into Bristol Bay. Very nice day, Kodiak Island, sunshine, temperatures rising into the 60s. And low clouds, fog out here, northern Bering Sea, where the winds are light. That extends up on the Chukchi, and clouds and some flurries up there on the Arctic coast. Out to the west, a front just south of the central Aleutians. Kind of put that into motion. And again, that same flow here, kind of coming up from the south, one branch shifting off to the east, this wrapping back around to the west and southwest. But that'll be lifting northward. The position this afternoon, roughly right through here. So areas of rain, wind's not all that bad. Maybe a little brisk back to the west there, but nothing too serious. Areas of rain spreading eastward here across the Fox Islands and toward the Alaska Peninsula. High pressure keeping the winds light up over the northern Bering Sea, right up into the Chukchi, and even the Arctic coast, seeing some light easterly winds there for the most part, with areas of light snow, fog, flurries, IFR, but south of the Brooks Range, much better. Lots of clearing there, and still possible thunderstorm developing maybe here over the western Alaska Range. Nothing too widespread yet, and the bulk of the moisture now pushing eastward and gradually tapering off or diminishing here, but just some isolated showers back to the west, otherwise clearing, dry conditions. This low pushing in mostly to the southern southeast coast there with the heaviest moisture. That'll continue to slip off to the southeast, and the outlook for tonight is slowly off to the southeast. The front past Dixon Entrance now, but still quite an area of precipitation here over the southern Panhandle, starting to lighten up to the north there, become a little more showery, if not flat out end altogether after midnight in the northern areas, but that'll all be moving through. Otherwise dry, a few clouds, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and this area showers continuing to diminish and weaken here, but still look for some showers to hang on there across the eastern interior, all the way from, looks like the Brooks Range, southward into maybe the central Copper River Basin, but those are going to become pretty widely scattered and light. and look for clearing now. Partly cloudy skies, variably cloudy, south central Alaska, mostly clear Kodiak Island, and probably mostly clear here in the western interior until you get out to the coastline. Pick up the lower clouds out there, maybe a risk of a rain or snow shower. Western Norton Sound, nothing significant at all. Pretty dry, light wind conditions. No change up there in the North Slope. Some flurries that are mostly off the coast. Some of that could graze the central Arctic coast there from, I'll say, Nuiqsut on over to Wainwright. And some of that might slip down into the about this position, which might catch Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. And that's about it for any significant weather up in that area, which actually isn't too significant except the impact on flying. This front, wet conditions, a little breezy there, but nothing too strong. Eastern Aleutians spreading into the Alaska Peninsula, 993 millibar low, lifting just north of the Aleutians, and increasing the winds on the back side of that from the north to northeast. Going to get kind of brisk out there over the next couple of days, and actually the winds will be on the increase here as well on the southwest coast. That front swings up to about this position by tomorrow afternoon. So pretty windy here for the Alaska Peninsula, along with periods of rain the entire day, gradually edging its way up the peninsula to the Aleutian Range, not quite making the Bristol Bay coast here from maybe Cape Newenham, but staying dry for king salmon, Dillingham, and Togiak, maybe an increase in some clouds, and that's about it. And then some pretty good north winds on the backside, small craft advisories, and 25 to 30 knot winds with that. Of course, the 30 knotters right through here where the gradient's tighter, less back to the west. High pressure, as weak as it is, results in mostly clear skies here across all of the western interior. And really pretty nice all the way to the east. A few more clouds lingering here over the eastern interior with a risk of a few afternoon showers. Pretty widely scattered and isolated, and mostly sunny though, south central Alaska. Temperatures tomorrow warming into the at least the mid 60s, some areas reaching the lower 70s all through the western or the central interior areas. And that system pulls off to the east, weakens, just left with a few lingering showers down in the south, becoming mostly sunny elsewhere across the Panhandle. High pressure here right off the coast. That'll be continuing to move eastward tomorrow night, making for a really nice day there on Tuesday. Otherwise up here we've got that weak trough keeping some flurries going on the eastern Arctic coast and possibly back to the west. So really no change from what you've seen up there. And then on Tuesday though, just take it all the way out of the picture. Maybe VFR, possibly, hopefully, just some areas of marginal conditions, but losing the flurries, make it dry for a change, a little more sun on the north slope, another very nice day in the interior, maybe some showers developing here from, say, the White Mountains northward into the southeastern Yukon Flats areas. Any one of those could develop into a thunderstorm, some of the taller clouds. High pressure still off the coast Tuesday here, very nice. Looks like temperatures at least into the 50s, maybe even into the lower to mid 60s there for the Panhandle, and sunshine back in across the southeast interior. Northward, back to the west, this front pushing rain northeastward here into the, definitely into Bristol Bay, and to a certain extent, probably catching Bethel with some rain. Southern Kuskokwim Valley, back across southern Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, windy and wet ahead of the front, and less wind and showery behind it. Showers increase again with the main low center back here just north of Unalaska, there with south to southwest winds. Behind it, showers pretty numerous, especially here for the Fox Islands. Then it breaks out again, and another trough swinging down from the north, taking a turn to the southeast there, picking those winds up. Again, possible minimum gales there, especially on the gusts, but mostly small craft advisories, and a lot of showers with that as it passes through. Drying out, but the wind's a little more of a northeast wind here over the northern Bering Sea. Call it maybe 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island. And looking at 30 knot winds here ahead of the front along the southwest coast. So small craft advisories with that here for that area, the Yukon Kuskokwim Delta coast, and even probably small crafts in Bristol Bay ahead of the frontal system. Otherwise, temperatures today across the Panhandle, mostly in the mid to upper 40s. Those will definitely be going up over the next couple of days, with Tuesday being the warmest. 45 today at AKwx, 48 Sitka, 45 at Wrangell, 46 Petersburg, and 52 degrees up at Skagway. Near 50 along the North Gulf Coast, or a shade under here, 48 at Cordova. Lower to mid 50s, Kenai Peninsula, south central Alaska with 50 degrees in Palmer, 52 Kenai. Homer up to 56, 60 degrees at Kodiak State Airport. And kind of a cool day in the Copper River Basin. Gunsight just 33 degrees at 4 o'clock this afternoon, while Golconda was at 45, McCarthy 48. And kind of a range here. You can see where it starts to clear out. Delta at 44, but Fairbanks pushing 60, and about the same at Tanana. Then into the lower 60s, back to the west from there. North, Bettle's up to 60, but Fort Yukon at 56, while Eagle about the same at 55. And Arctic coast now, some locations even on the east side here starting to reach 30 there. Did reach 30 at Kaktovik. Otherwise, mid-20s, back into the lower 30s here. Kind of cool across Kotzebue Sound with Kivalina and Kotzebue at 31, 28 at Shishmaref, and 35 at Nome and Savunga. Otherwise, Bethel here, 45 degrees, 41 St. Michael, 36 Unalakleet, and Makoriak had 37. For the Pribilofs, 37 St. Paul, 40 at St. George, lower to mid-40s here for the Central Aleutians. And that temperature pattern pretty consistent here until you get up into northeast Bristol Bay with 57 at King Salmon and 61 at Kaliganik. Moving on to the lows tonight, upper 30s, lower 40s for the Panhandle, or mid-30s. About the same here south central Alaska. Lows in the interior staying in some cases in the lower 40s. And then you fall back to the lower to mid here, out along the, or lower to mid 30s, out toward the coastline with upper 20s there at Nome. And then, of course, 20s across the north slope in the Arctic coast, and near 40 for the Aleutians, except for the Pribilofs, down to mid 30s. Highs tomorrow, warming it up nicely here with more sunshine, especially on the east side. Looks like temperatures 65, 7, 8, 9, maybe even 71 in some areas here, with all these upper 60s showing up, especially from the McGrath-Nikolai area into the central interior, with temperatures near 60 for the Copper River Basin. Susitna Valley warming into the mid-60s tomorrow, and even the Kenai Peninsula approaching 60 or into the lower 60s. And a warming trend for the southeast coast. That'll continue into Tuesday as well, with temperatures maybe a few degrees warmer than what you're seeing for tomorrow. For the flying weather, definitely an improvement here. Still some marginal VFR down south late tonight. VFR coming in, lots of VFR over the interior, some lingering marginal stuff from the eastern Alaska Range northward and in the Gulf of Alaska. Lots of IFR here, the Bering Sea, all the way down to the Fox Islands, encroaching on the Alaska Peninsula. And no change in the Arctic coast. Look for quite a bit of IFR, especially east side. Tomorrow afternoon, that doesn't improve much there. It just seems like it expands back to the west a little. Lots of IFR, eastern Bering Sea down to the Aleutians, but Bristol Bay and the VFR there. And the IFR right along the coast and Norton Sound areas, and then improving farther west. VFR across the interior, marginal VFR now on the north coast, the rest of the Panhandle in the VFR zone. And it looks like all of that will be near or off the coast. So passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, both ceilings visibility is unlimited. Same thing for the Alaska Range, probably more so for Lake Clark, Merrill, rainy and windy. And for Isabel, VFR, and Metasta also VFR. Tanita looking good, and Portage could start out marginal on the eastern entrance tomorrow and then become VFR probably short ways into the mid-morning or late morning hours, or could be VFR from start to finish. And for Chilkoot and White, they will be VFR from start to finish tomorrow, and they will be on Tuesday as well. Freezing levels, upper level low still in the area there, so the cold pool here down over the southern panhandle, but that's going to be sliding off to the southeast. Warmer air aloft coming in with higher pressure, and not too bad over the interior, 4,000 to 6,000 feet. Cooler weather back to the west. And the icing threat with the incoming front could be some areas of moderate, occasional moderate rime icing here, Alaska Peninsula, maybe the Pribilofs cutting off back to the west, maybe a chance of some mixed or some icing conditions up to the north there in the northeast. And then this lingering early on, but by tomorrow afternoon, should be out of the southern southeast coastal areas there. Winds aloft chart showing the upper level low tomorrow, still kind of dragging along, but getting far enough off to the southeast. You'll see some offshore flow developing on the north side of that as it drifts off. Higher pressure following in behind, already ridging into the southern part of the state. Very weak trough here lifting off to the northeast, and then the big trough out to the west. 9,000 foot wind flow chart, southeast 20 to 25, the peninsula. A narrow band here, 25 to 40 knot winds from about there to there. Just north of the Pribilofs, wrapping back around, coming down into the Aleutians, 25 to 30 knots. Otherwise, pretty light winds. Same pattern, 3,000 feet. Light, very light over the interior. Just about no wind at all, right to the Arctic coast, down to the Gulf. Northwesterlies 15 to 20 for the Panhandle. Strongest winds right through here in the 25 to maybe 35 knot range, and then coming back down on the west side of that low center into the central Aleutians. Turbulence, that would be where the turbulence will be here for the southeasterlies on the Alaska Peninsula. Pribilofs, and then some light to isolated moderate chop there, mechanical type for the central and western Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
When approaching Skagway, be alert for tour operators in the area and for helicopter traffic departing and arriving at Skagway. The traffic pattern is at 1,000 feet with right-hand traffic for runway 19 to avoid the town of Skagway. It will appear that the pattern is close to the mountain, and it is. You will find that you are quite close to the trees on the downwind. A close-in base turn around the water tanks to almost immediate final is needed to avoid overshooting the final approach. This is a tight, narrow canyon that consistently generates turbulent winds in the pattern and on the runway. Be aware that there is a bridge with automobile and truck traffic at the end of the final approach end for runway 19. The bridge is used as a final reporting point. There's a school to the left of the runway just beyond the bridge that must not be overflown. Since the runway is narrow and 3,700 feet long, it gives the appearance that you must land on the approach end numbers in order to stop by the end of the runway. Touching down in the first third of the runway is paramount. Also, be alert to the possibility of variable winds on the runway. Tour operations generated by the cruise ship industry in the summer are extremely busy conducting glacier tours. Multiple flights depart and arrive at the same time, making pattern entry awkward. Good communications are the key to safe entry as well as departure. After landing, aircraft taxi off to the side of the runway and wait for other landing aircraft to taxi off before taxiing back to parking. Be aware that several aircraft are apt to be back taxiing to parking areas at one time. So it's important to be especially careful to report your position in the pattern and while on final. When necessary, don't hesitate to go around. Wind shifts are common in Skagway. It's not unusual to see all three windsocks flying in different directions at the same time. The winds are known to shift unexpectedly. It is possible to get a reported wind from the south, only to be on final approach to runway 19 and have the wind suddenly come down the valley from the north. Winds are usually from the south at 17 to 25 knots, but have been known to exceed 30 knots in the summer. In winter months, severe winds can ground aircraft for days at a time. Departing from Skagway to Juneau off runway 19. After clearing the shoreline, turn to fly to the left of Taya Inlet and retrace your steps to Lena Point. Your first checkpoint on the return trip will be Taya Point.
I've emailed her Rock 2.0 west side.
As you enter the Lynn Canal, you can see the Chilkat Inlet off to your right, which leads to Haines.
Port Stewart for downwind 8, number 2.
Your next set of checkpoints will be Sullivan Island to your right and Eldred Rock Lighthouse. As you continue toward Juneau, you will see Berners Bay, Benjamin Island, Eagle Beach, Tea Harbor, and finally, Lena Point. Lena Point is the first reporting point into the Juneau Airport. The approach into Juneau requires vigilance because many aircraft will be approaching and departing the Juneau Airport and Float Pond area. Subsequent reporting points when approaching for runway 08 are Coghlan Island, then Battleship Island, if requested, the Cut, South Tip, and final approach. If you are interested in traveling to other locations in Alaska, please view the appropriate videotape.
Well, a couple of nice days coming up to fly southeast Alaska, but marine-wise, north winds tomorrow, 20 to 25 knots, and then northwest at the same speed up to the north here. So we got small craft advisories all along here till you get up to the extreme north coast. And north 15, Lynn Canal down to Stevens Passage. Clarence Strait, northwest at about 20 with 4-foot seas. And then for Tuesday, lighter winds now along the coast, and again, mostly clear skies everywhere. Just barely a breeze here at 15 knots with seas down to 4 to 6 feet. Light winds over the inside waters, except still at 20 knots there for Clarence Strait out in the northwest, and south 15 for northern Lynn Canal. Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, southwest at 10 here. Same thing for the North Gulf Coast. Very light winds, just a west-southwest drift. Southerlies here, very light. Shelikof Strait, maybe 15 knots east side of Kodiak Island, 15 out of the west for the Barrens. And then big change coming in for Tuesday as that front approaches here from the southwest. We've got 25 to 30 knot winds swinging around to the south, southeast, and east here. Kodiak Island into the Barrens, Kachemak Bay, 30 knot winds, but only 10 knots there south of the Foreland, staying variable for northern Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound. And for Bristol Bay, tomorrow, southeast at 15. We've got 20 knots southeasterlies blowing across the peninsula with seas 4 to 8 feet here on the Pacific side. And that 20-knot wind condition stands up to Sitkinak. For Tuesday, minimum gales come into Bristol Bay. Actually, it'll be swinging across the peninsula tomorrow night, and then as the front pushes up to the northeast, it'll be into Bristol Bay. South at about 30 or so. For the area from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. It's still 25-knot winds back to the west here. But as you get toward Cape Saratchev, those probably drop off to about 20. And then for the Aleutians, southeast, 20 to 25 for the Fox Islands, especially on Alaska Island. And then from Nikolsky west, lighter 15-knot winds. Pick up back up to about 20 there for Adak and Atka out of the southwest. Northwest, 25 to 30 with 8 to 9 foot seas west of Adak. And for Tuesday, I've got small craft advisories now advance in across Adak and Atka, there from the northwest and west, extending back to Shemya, and an increase in the winds here, especially Pacific side there of the eastern Aleutians, west-southwest, 25 to 30 knots, lighter winds on the Bering Sea side. up to the southwest coast there, actually starting St. Lawrence Island. You could say no wind at all tomorrow, 2-foot seas, no light winds, slight seas, maybe 15 knots north of Nunivak Island. Picking up more of a breeze, though, coming out of Kuskokwim Bay here south of the island. Small craft advisories for the Pribilofs, northeast coming up to 20 knots for St. Matthew Island. And now on Tuesday, 30-knot winds south of Nunivak Island become northeast, fall back to 20 knots, increasing to 20 knots St. Lawrence Island, extending down into the northern Bering Sea and actually all the way down to the Pribilofs. For the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, really light westerly drift, 5 to maybe 10 knots. Swinging around to the east at 10 here on the central coast. I'd call that light and variable for much of that area. Swinging around to the south at 10 knots and then southwest at 10 here from Wales to Cape Thompson. And then even more of a light variable thing going on for there on Tuesday from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort. 5 to 10 knots, light southwesterlies on the central and west coast. Turn southeast and then back around to the east there toward Demarcation Point, but nothing more than 10 knots. And taking a look at the forecast for tonight, this system rain over the southern panhandle tonight. That's going to be slowly moving through, ending from north to southeast there. Dry conditions over the interior, decreasing showers here over the eastern interior. This front spreads rain up to the Alaska Peninsula, and that pushes further northeast tomorrow. Not really a big jog to the northeast, but definitely increase in the winds and rain approaching the southwest coast, extending all the way back to the central Aleutians. This system kicking off into Canada, weakening tomorrow afternoon, really becoming a non-factor quite rapidly as sunshine replaces with this high pressure off the coast. Isolated showers now over the mountains and sunshine, warmer conditions both tomorrow and Tuesday for the interior. More rain spreading up with that front. Good night.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.